Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to Mailbag, the all-mailbag show here on Collider Video, where all we do is take your mailbag questions. My name is John Campy. I'm the senior producer over here at Collider Video, and this is our first mailbag over at our new home on Collider, and we're really excited. Now, as you can see, things are quite different than the normal mailbag. I and most of the crew are currently here in San Diego, California, attending Comic-Con, and as I record this show, Dennis, Zen, Wendy, Mark, Christian, a bunch of people are in Hall H at Comic-Con watching the Batman vs. Superman panel. But I stayed behind here so I could do Mailbag with you guys. And I'm really stoked. Now, normally Mailbag will be back in the studio, of course, and I'll have a co-host with me. But I didn't want to wait an entire another week before we did another Mailbag episode because I love doing Mailbag. And I know a lot of you guys have been asking for it to come back. So before we get into the Mailbag, I'm going to just address this quickly. A lot of people have been, ever since we moved over to Collider Video, have been emailing, Facebook messaging, tweeting me, and leaving questions in the comments a lot about the audio-only podcasts and when we might see the return of the audio-only podcasts. Now, we don't do audio-only podcasts right now. Now, in the description of this video, you will see a link to a YouTube video I did that's basically titled Why We Don't Do Podcasts Right Now, Why We May Never Do Podcasts Again, and Why We Might Do Podcasts Again. And if you're somebody who enjoys listening to the audio-only podcasts, I would really recommend check out that link in the description and go and watch that YouTube video, because in that video I ask for your input and I could really use your input as well. So I'd love it if you could do that. So hey, listen, let's get into the mailbag stuff. And I just want to remind you, if you've got a question or a topic you'd like us to address on Mailbag or on Collider Movie Talk Monday through Friday, just email us at collidervideo@gmail.com. Once again, that's collidervideo@gmail.com. So without any further ado, let's get into the first mailbag question today. And the first mailbag question today comes to us from Eric Lee, who writes, "Hey guys, big fan of the show. Thank you very much, Eric. It seems like you all had a great experience and gave a high score to Ant-Man. Why are the scores on Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritics that low? As a Marvel Cinematic Universe film, they are pretty low. And does the Edgar Wright problem really affect it that much? Please tell us your thoughts. However, my friends and I have already planned to see it on the first screening day. Nothing is going to stand in our way. Thank you and keep up the great work." Well, thanks a lot, Eric. I really appreciate the question. Yeah, look, me and Mark Ellis, we already put up our Ant-Man review, and it's on the Collider Video channel. You can see it there under movie reviews. And both of us really liked it. I mean, I've seen the movie 3 times already, and the movie hasn't even come out yet. I like it that much that I've gone back to multiple press screenings and premieres because I wanted to see it again. That should tell you how much I really enjoy it. For me, actually, it is in my top 3. Automatically, it's in my top 3 favorite Marvel standalone films. I put it right up there with the first Thor, and you all know how much I love the first Thor film, and with Captain America Winter Soldier. If I was really pressed, and I had to give an answer right now, how would I rank the individual Marvel films? I would say the number 1 individual Marvel film, standalone film, would still be Captain America Winter Soldier. Number 2, I think I might give to Ant-Man, and number 3, I'd give to Thor, and number 4, maybe Guardians of the Galaxy, number 5, maybe the first Iron Man. I'd have to work that all out. But the point is, I really enjoyed Ant-Man. Ant-Man is a very different film from any Marvel film we've seen so far. Much like Captain America Winter Soldier was a really different film. That was really more of a political thriller, and this one is I'm sorry, I just got a text message from our production coordinator, Wendy Lee Zaney, who is in Hall H right now, saying they showed Wonder Woman in the new trailer. Well, I guess we're going to have to get to that in a little bit, won't we? Anyway, Ant-Man is a very different kind of film. It's a heist movie. Now, a lot of people thought it was just going to be a straight-up comedy, and it's not. Although it is very funny, it is a heist movie, and I think just like Captain America Winter Soldier pulled off a political thriller really well, I think Ant-Man pulled off a heist film really well, and I really enjoyed it. But here's the thing. No movie is for everybody. And one of the first things I said to the person who went to see the first screening of Ant-Man with me was that I loved it, but it's not a film for everybody. So I knew there was going to be a number of people that it didn't sit well with. Plus, I knew a lot of critics, not a lot, but I knew there were going to be a number of critics who are such big Edgar Wright fans, and I am a massive Edgar Wright fan, who, no matter how good Ant-Man was going to be, because of the drama that went down with Edgar Wright and that Edgar Wright wasn't on the film anymore, that some people were just going to stomp their feet and cross their arms. Nope, it's not good. It would have been better with Edgar Wright. Now, that's not to say that anybody who doesn't like Ant-Man just doesn't like it because of the Edgar Wright thing. That's not true at all. I'm just saying I know a couple people that are like that. But really, the ratings are not that low. Right now, it's got a 72% on Rotten Tomatoes. I think it was as low as 68 with the first wave of reviews. And normally, especially with Marvel films, when the first wave of reviews come out, as more reviews come out, the number starts high and it starts to go lower. With Ant-Man, the first wave of reviews was like 66 or 67, but it's been slowly going back up. Right now, it's sitting at about 72%. I expect it to settle in between 71 and 73%. And count me as one of the 71 to 73% who recommend this movie. I think it's really great. I think you will enjoy it. I don't think it's going to be a huge box office hit. But then again, I didn't think Jurassic World was going to be a huge box office hit either, so we'll have to see how that goes. But I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys think of Ant-Man when it comes out next week. All right, let's move on to the next question. And the next question today comes from Manu Shoker, who writes, "How's it going, Collider crew? Any news on a World War Z sequel? I thought that movie was underrated. It was a much more grounded and darker zombie film than the others. I'd love to see where they would continue with the story. Thanks." Yeah, World War Z, I was very pleasantly surprised by World War Z because if you guys follow a lot of stuff, you know that World War Z was a mess. I mean, they were pretty much done that film and they pretty much scrapped the whole thing. They reshot like 50 to 60% of it. Their budget skyrocketed and everybody was just like doom and gloom. This movie was going to suck. But in my opinion, as it turns out, them scrapping what they had, reshooting most of the film, re-putting it back together was actually the best thing in the world they could have done because I ended up quite enjoying World War Z. Now, was it in my top 10 films of the year? No, but it ended up being a really enjoyable film for me personally, and I really looked forward to what was going to come next. The fans of the book was an interesting thing because I talked to a number of fans of the World War Z book before the movie came out, and a lot of them were like, man, if you read the book, you know this is a really weird movie to shoot. How do you put this book properly into a movie form? They weren't quite sure it would work. And they did take a lot of liberties with the book and how they told the story, but I think the end result was a pretty good movie. Now, World War Z 2 is coming out. It is coming out July 9th, 2017. So they've announced a release date, July 9th, 2017. They just announced that like 2 months ago. And it's going to open against, ready? Fantastic Four 2. Fantastic Four 2 also opens July 9th, 2017, which is interesting because while one is a zombie movie and one is a superhero film, it seems to me there's going to be a lot of the similar demographic, the same audience they're going to be going after for that. So I'm going to be really curious to see if they decide to change directors. Now, it's going to be directed by J.A. Bayona. For those of you who are fans of the television show Penny Dreadful, you might be familiar with some of his work as he's directed a number of episodes of Penny Dreadful. So they've got their director. I believe their screenplay is done. They've got a release date. So it looks like we can fully expect that we're going to see a World War Z 2 on July 2017. All right, let's move on to the next question. Gary Algera writes, forgive me if I'm butchering names. Congrats to John and the crew for the big move to Collider. Thank you so much, Gary. Appreciate that. I've been a son of AMC since the build-up to Man of Steel, and I'm pumped that you're all together again at your new home. Nobody's more pumped than us. Trust me, believe me. In the shuffle, I don't remember you all giving your opinions on the first Creed trailer. Now that you've seen some footage, what do you think of the movie so far? And what about its box office chances? Yeah, the Creed trailer came out. And, you know, I was one of those guys that I really loved Rocky 5. Or is it Rocky 6? Yeah, Rocky 6, Rocky Balboa. I really loved Rocky 6. I thought that was as perfect of a Rocky 6 movie as you could have possibly done. I don't know how you do a better Rocky 6 movie. I thought they really went the full potential on that. They pulled the right emotional heartstrings. And yet at the end, it kind of felt believable in some strange way. I really thought Stallone and crew knocked Rocky Balboa out of the park. When I heard that they were going to do another film, this time Rocky is kind of transitioning now into the Mickey role of the trainer which they kind of did in Rocky 5, but let's ignore that, where he's now transitioning into the role of the trainer, and it's going to be Apollo Creed's son. I thought it sounded kind of cheap and gimmicky. Then I found out they cast Michael B. Jordan, and any of you who've seen Michael B. Jordan in a bunch of his work, especially in Fruitvale Station, you know he's a powerhouse actor who's going to be on the scene for a very long time. I thought, well, that's a really interesting casting, but I still didn't really know if it was going to be cheesy or whatever. The first trailer was impressive. It really felt like that original Rocky movie in many ways, and that's a good thing. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I was not as blown away by the trailer as some other people were, but I quite liked it. And I've moved from just being interested in Creed to actually looking forward to it now. I actually can't wait to watch this movie. I'm pretty excited about it. Now, again, I didn't think there was anything in the trailer to be completely blown away by, like many, many other people do, but I'm in the minority. Most people were totally floored by it. Me, I thought it was a very good trailer. It did its job in that it transitioned me from just being curious about the movie to now really looking forward to it. So as far as the box office chances for the film goes, man, I don't know. That is a tough one to call, because after Jurassic World happened, I mean, I don't know, because who saw the Jurassic World numbers coming? Nobody, not even Chris Pratt's mother saw the Jurassic World numbers coming in the numbers that they did. And I'm just not really, I mean, Rocky Balboa's numbers weren't fantastic. While Michael B. Jordan is one of the best young actors in Hollywood today, he's not a household name yet, and he hasn't been a proven big box office draw yet. So it's hard to say. I'm going to guess, if the trailers stay good and some good positive buzz gets out, I'm going to guess an opening weekend of $40 million for Creed. And I think that would be pretty good for it. But that's just, I could be $100 million off. I don't know. You asked me for a guess. I'm giving you a guess. All right, let's move on to the next question. And the next question today comes to us from Ronald Donahue, who writes, I was really disappointed when I learned that Ava DuVernay would not be directing the Black Panther movie due to creative differences with Marvel Studios. I was talking to some friends of mine about it, who I thought would be a great fit for the perfect project, and I came up with an actor/director, Forrest Whitaker. I have an online petition going to try to get 100,000 signatures for folks who'd like to see Marvel consider him as the director. Tell me, in your opinion, do you think if he directed the Black Panther, it would be just as good as the other movies that Marvel has been putting out? Thank you, and bring on the green filthiness. Thanks so much for the question. I am a huge fan of Forrest Whitaker. That dude just brings it almost every time. I've seen him mail it in once or twice, but for the most part, he just always has this incredible screen presence. He's a great performer. I love seeing him in movies. However, I could probably not disagree with you more about him directing. He's not a good director. He's Forrest Whitaker, magnificent actor who I will see in anything. He is not a good director. Let's not forget Hope Floats with Sandra Bullock. Remember that? Let's not forget Waiting to Exhale. Remember Waiting to Exhale? Let's not forget First Daughter with Katie Holmes. These films were not just, bad box office. These are bad films. And, Forrest has been at the helm of all three of those. So, kudos to him for stretching his wings as an actor to also get into directing and try that. And he's made, as a director, multiple feature films, which most people in the world who aspire to be directors will never be able to do. But he has not put out anything that's been good. And so do I want the director of Waiting to Exhale, Hope Floats, and what was the last one I mentioned there? First Daughter. Do I want that director taking over Black Panther? Hell no. No. I love Forrest Whitaker, and the dude's awesome, but do I want him to? I love my mom. But do I want her directing Black Panther? No, I do not. I do not want her directing Black Panther. And as far as Ava stepping away, look, this isn't a new thing that, hey, a studio director started talking about doing a movie, realized they had different visions, so the studio went on with a different director, and the director went on to a different project. That's not new. This happens almost every film. Not almost every film, that's hyperbole, but it happens all the time. So it's really not a big deal. I think it's great that the two decided to go in different directions now instead of, signing a deal and then like 3 months into pre-production, Ava walks off or Marvel pulls the plug or what, it's just, if they have different visions, then go with a different vision. I mean, nope, that's not bad on Marvel. That's not bad on Ava. It's just, doing business. And who knows, maybe they'll still work together sometime in the future on a different film. All right, let's move on to the next question. And the next question today comes to us from, wow, I'm going to butcher this, Paul Noonan, who writes, "Hey guys, love the new show. Thanks so much. I'm wondering, can Jurassic World," we've been talking a lot about Jurassic World today, "can Jurassic World take Titanic's number 2 spot on the domestic box office charts? At the moment, Jurassic World has 56.9.2 or 56 500, let me try that again, 569.2 million. So will it be over or under Titanic's 658.6 million? Well, as of today, Jurassic World has $577 million at the box office as of today. But will it catch Titanic for the number 2 spot at 658? I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not even sure that Jurassic World is going to catch the Avengers that's under Titanic at 623 million. This weekend's box office for Jurassic World is going to take a huge dive because Minions is out. And as of, I'm recording this on Saturday morning, the Friday box office numbers, I think Jurassic World made $5 million. Minions made like $48 million. So if Minions is eating up the box office just completely. So this will be the first weekend that we see a massive drop off for Jurassic World. Compound that with the fact that next week Ant-Man comes out. And that's going to totally eat. So now Jurassic World, which hasn't had a lot of stiff competition, Jurassic World is going to be contending with Minions and Ant-Man. And so that number is going to really drop. As of right now today, Ant-Man or Jurassic World is about $50 million off. I think about $50 million off from Avengers. And I don't know that it's going to make another $50 million. It might. It's close enough that it's still quite feasible. But I'm not sure it's even going to catch that. So I don't think it has any chance at all of catching Titanic for the number 2 spot. That's still like $80 million ahead of it. It has had the most surprising box office run of any film I can ever remember. We were surprised with how big Avengers was, but we weren't all that surprised. Jurassic World is, like I said, to me, the most surprising box office run we have ever seen. It could stop making money today and everybody over there at the studio will be dancing themselves crazy for the next 5 years over how well this movie did. Nobody saw it coming. So will it catch Titanic? I highly, highly, highly severely doubt it. I just don't see a scenario in which that can happen. Could it catch, though, Avengers for the number 3 spot? That is still possible. I'd give it a 30% chance of catching Avengers, because let's not discount that this movie's been surprising us all along and it may continue to surprise us. All right, let's move on to the next question. The next question comes to us from Charles Testrake, who writes, "The announcement of a Han Solo Star Wars anthology film filled me with both excitement and dread. What if they cast a Hayden Christensen type for the role and thus ruin one of the most iconic characters in film history? Even if they cast the next Marlon Brando, his preference will still lie in the shadow of Harrison Ford, especially with the release of The Force Awakens. I believe the solution can be found in technology. A CGI Harrison Ford should play young Han Solo. Do you agree? Please discuss." No, absolutely not. That is not the answer. Remember, I worked in a visual effects company for a number of years. And I remember when that X-Men film came out. Remember that X-Men film that came out that started with Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen as a younger Charles Xavier and Magneto going to the home of Jean Grey. And they digitally made them look younger. And everybody started raving, "You could do the whole movie like that. Why don't they do it?" No, you can't. Because in that scene, now granted, that was years ago now. But in that scene, Patrick Stewart's like, "Yes, we're very interested in what your daughter do." Oh, Charles, I like this one. I mean, very still, steady. I mean, they made it as easy as possible to do that. Now, fast forward a couple years to that Tron movie where you had Clue, the young version of Jeff Bridges. That was great, but there was hardly any motion in that. When you did see the young Jeff Bridges, it was very stiff and very, very solid, very held in place, and he really wasn't on screen all that long. It is a difficult proposition to do stuff like that. I think they did a little bit of digital touch-up to Michael Douglas in Ant-Man, so no spoilers, but I'm just saying I think there might be a flashback scene where you see a slightly younger Michael Douglas, and I think they might have done a little bit of digital touching up, but not a lot. The thing is, no matter how advanced visual effects have gotten, that one wall we haven't been able to crack yet is truly photorealistic human beings. Now, we've reached a point in technology where sometimes you can create some still images that can fool some people. I've seen some still images of CG created characters that you have to look really close to know that that wasn't a real person, it was actually CG. But that's still images. In the world of movement and video, and it's what our eyes are used to seeing, we have yet to really truly crack that code. And even if we did, the cost of that type of an endeavor would be astronomical. It would be huge, ridiculously expensive to pull it off. Plus, then if you're having that actor play off of other live actors, then it's really going to make a CG version of him really stand out and maybe even look kind of foolish. But I still believe that, you brought up Hayden Christensen. And yeah, Hayden wasn't a bad actor at the time. But look, that movie made Liam Neeson look bad. That movie made Ewan McGregor look bad. I mean, when you have bad direction and no sets and really no direction being given to you by the director, it's hard to come across as good. And Hayden Christensen, who while I contend has not turned out to be a very good actor, I don't really hold him responsible for how badly Anakin turned out. Now, that being said, you're worried about, look what happened with Hayden Christensen. Well, yeah, but look what happened with Daniel Craig. A lot of people say, you're never going to get a Bond who's as good as Roger Moore, or a lot of other people, you're never going to get a Bond as good as Sean Connery. And we got Daniel Craig. And now we have a whole generation of people, and when we think of James Bond, we think of Daniel Craig. And I contend he's the best James Bond we've ever had. That's just me, because I think he's a really great fusion of the Sean Connery James Bond and the Roger Moore James Bond. You got the suaveness of the Roger Moore James Bond, the badassness of the Sean Connery James Bond, and I find the Daniel Craig James Bond a really great fusion of the two. I thought that Craig brought both elements of both of those types. And whereas Pierce Brosnan, who I also thought was a very good James Bond, Pierce Brosnan kind of fell into the Roger Moore style. A little bit of badassness to him, yes, but he was more the Roger Moore style of Bond, the suaveness, with a bit of badassness that will surprise you. Daniel Craig, I think, is a really good amalgamation too. That worked out great. Or look at X-Men First Class. A lot of people were like, look, you can't get somebody to play, no one's going to be able to be Magneto like Ian McKellen was Magneto. And guess what? Everybody loves Michael Fassbender as a young Magneto. It worked out great. James McAvoy is a young Patrick Stewart. That has worked out great. So yes, there are definitely examples where, getting actors for roles that we think are iconic and then we get the wrong type of actor, sure, that could absolutely possibly happen. But it's also happened the opposite where it's worked out great. So I'd say keep our fingers crossed. Do not go with a CGI Harrison Ford. Don't do that. It's not the time. Let's talk again in about 10 or 15 years. All right, the next question comes to us from Dylan Davidson, who writes, "Hey guys, love the show. Quick question: with the recent popularity of franchises and shared universes, do you think we will start seeing strange and possibly unnecessary crossovers within studios? I really don't need to see things like Planet of the Apes versus the X-Men from Fox or Transformers versus the Ninja Turtles from Paramount. But with Disney showing that it can be done with the Avengers, could this be the future of Hollywood?" Well, Disney didn't show that taking two completely different franchises and merging them together could work. Disney took what has already existed as a cohesive single universe, the Marvel universe, and started putting them together. Iron Man was always in, Captain America was always in the same universe as Iron Man. The Hulk, once Marvel got it back, the Hulk was already in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. These were all individual films that already coexisted in the same cinematic universe, and then the Avengers just kind of put them together. That is different from what you're afraid of like, what if they took X-Men and merged them with Planet of the Apes? These are not assumed to be in the same universes already. That would literally be taking two completely different franchises and mashing them up. And they've tried that before with Aliens versus Predator. Now, some people say, John, well, they did comics of that. Who cares? I mean, really, it was in the movie universe, it was two completely separate franchises that they put together. And granted, it was not a bad idea, but it didn't work. And people didn't respond to it. The first Aliens versus Predator made like $172 million. Alien versus Predator 2, Alien versus Predator Requiem, I believe it was called, made like $128 million. Like it took like a $40 or $50 million dive. They were not well received by critics or audiences. And I think, studios still understand you have to give people something they'd be excited to see. And random mashups, just for the sake of creating a cinematic universe, if it's not creating something that the audiences really want to see, they're not going to do it. And so I think a lot of us would love to see the Fantastic Four and X-Men crossover because that's a natural fit. I think there are a lot of people who wouldn't mind seeing a G.I. Joe and Transformers mashup because if you understand the background of those properties, that's a natural fit. But I think these random ones that you're worried about, I don't think you need to worry. I think we're okay. I think we're a little safe for those. All right, last question of the day for this inaugural Collider mailbag comes to us from Vu Vang, who writes, with Disney making live-action movies of their classic animated films, can you guys see Lion King as one of them? What I have in mind is a version of Lion King where instead of animals, the characters are human. For example, having the lion as the symbol of the kingdom and the hyena as the symbol of the bad guys. Anything is possible in the movie business, but do you think Disney would go for something like that? Well, they have done stuff like that, especially with Shakespeare. Shakespeare, we see a lot of completely different contexts for the original text, but brought into like a modern. For instance, think of the Leonardo DiCaprio, Claire Danes, Romeo and Juliet. They took Romeo and Juliet, but they completely changed the context of it and brought it into modern day, while very cleverly keeping the original dialogue, which I thought was really creative and very well done. So it has been done. What you're suggesting, though, it wouldn't really be a live-action version of The Lion King. That would be a completely all-encompassing re-envisioning. So could you do a movie that's called King of the Lions, where you had, like, the father, the family's name, the last name is Lyons. So Brad Lyons and Michael Lyons and things like that. Could you do that and so have a reimagining where you take the story of the Lion King, but bring it into a totally different context, live action, humans, things like that? Yes, you could do something like that, and Disney could do something like that. But here's the thing. Disney right now seems to be in the business of just making live action adaptations of their existing properties as is. So I don't see them doing that anytime in the near future. However, that could be an interesting film, the way you describe it, where, the family is called the Lions. You have your Uncle Scar, who's part of it. And like family intrigue, family drama, all that kind of stuff with high stakes and everything like that. I think that's why the TV show Empire with Terrence Howard right now is so popular. I think there's something there that could work, but would Disney actually do that right now? I'm not so sure. All right, folks, that'll do it for this installment of Collider Mailbag. Thanks so much for joining us. Once again, sorry about the digs here. We are in San Diego. There's not going to be a mailbag tomorrow. Normally, mailbags will be on Saturdays and Sundays, but we are busy here at Comic-Con, and Sunday is also a travel day, so there's not going to be one tomorrow. I just didn't want to wait until next weekend to have our first one, so I wanted to put this one up now. Once again, guys, about our podcast, check in the description of this video for the link to the video where I talk about the current status of our audio podcasts, why there aren't any up right now, and how we might be able to do them again in the future. I really need your input, so please check out that video. Watch it. It's about 10 minutes long, and then give me your input as to what you think we should do. That would be awesome. Don't forget, guys, mail in your questions to collidervideo@gmail.com, and maybe you'll see your question on a future mailbag episode. Maybe you'll see it on a movie talk episode, and we'll see it there. So for the folks here at Collider Video, thanks so much for joining us, guys. My name's John Campia, and until next time, bye-bye.